So I'm Adam, hailing from partsFUNknown, and this is how Adam would book, where I take his thing. Oh, I gotta make it better. And this month, I'm doing Katie Vick. I've avoided doing this for about 7 years, but I've run out of ideas, boys. So, like and subscribe, I suppose, and jam that jam. October the 7th, 2002. Raw Roulette, good episode of Raw, ending with TLC 4, with Kane defending Kane and Hurricanes, or as they're otherwise known, Hurricanes tag titles by himself in a TLC match. And he did. He climbed the ladder, he kept the titles, he was very happy. He stood in the ring and out came Triple H and accused Kane of being a murderer, which in fairness is like accusing the sky of being up, because at the Royal Rumble, I think Kane's killed people. Like, I think that's part of his life, right? At the Royal Rumble 1998, he tried to kill The Undertaker. Pretty sure he did kill The Undertaker. Anyway, TLC 4 was an amazing match. Fun fact, there wouldn't be another TLC match for another 4 years after this. So Katie Vick wasn't the only thing that WWE killed. So it was a bit bad. I mean, it was a cliffhanger. You're a murderer, Kane. End of episode. A bit bad and weird, but it could fit. It was only the next week on Raw when things got really bad. It's really bad. Kane took to the ring to do a big confessional speech. Katie was a friend of mine from 10 years ago. She watched my first wrestling match. I thought Kane's first appearance at a wrestling match was at Hell in a Cell at Bad Blood in Your House. Wasn't he? He was a mute. He was already a mute, burned demon by that point, and that tracks with the timeline of the story that then played out with The Undertaker, because The Undertaker, when Kane was a child, set the fire that burned down their funeral home and killed their parents. So Kane was younger than a teenager there, because Undertaker was the teenager there. So Kane definitely wasn't old enough to drive or drink, and he also, by his teenage years, have a big red mask on. Why? Have you seen this first? Why would you let him drive? Also, The Undertaker is like an actual murderer. He admitted to that. He set the fire on purpose. But also, Kane was going to parties like a kegger. Kane drove Katie Vick home. An animal jumped out in front of their car. Kane driving in the mask, I guess. The car span out and Katie died. Needless to say, the entire speech that Kane did, the crowd watted the whole thing, which is sad. Which seems as good a time as any to talk about this episode's sponsor, Manscaped. I don't know what kind of segue they were hoping for. They wanted it in this video. This one's gonna have to do, because I'm pretty sure they don't want me talking about their product after I outline the next bit of the Katie Vick feud. So, here's an ad for Manscaped. Oh my God.
Would you like to be as hairless as your favorite wrestler, as long as your favorite wrestler isn't Albert Big Damo or George the Animal Steel? Of course you would. That's why you need this video's sponsor, Manscaped, the global brand for men's grooming and hygiene products. Manscaped offers the best tools and liquid formulations for the big three odor zones: your body, your balls, and your butt-ass. Butt works better there. Manscaped has hooked all of us up here at PFK with a bunch of stuff from their all-in-one Performance Package 4.0. Let's check out what's inside. You got your Lawnmower 4.0 body trimmer, Manscaped's 4th generation electric waterproof trimmer with advanced skin-safe technology, which reduces nicks and cuts on the most sensitive regions of your body, like your butt-ass. Comes with LED tech, and it can even function under running water in the shower. Also included are 2 products like the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant to make your man grape smell radiant, and the Crop Reviver Ball Toner Spray. I didn't know you could tone a small brain, but I'm no scientist. But it's not just your unmentionables that Manscaped's got covered. My personal favorite piece of this collection is their Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer, a product that I suddenly desperately need now that my 34-year-old nose has decided that it hates me and all my social prospects. Join Manscaped now, and for a limited time, you get all this plus 2 free gifts, the Shed travel bag and the Manscaped anti-chafing boxer briefs, which I'm wearing as I record this voiceover, and you have to know that now. Go to manscaped.com today and get 20% off and free international shipping, plus 2 free gifts when you use the promo code partsFUNknown at checkout. That's promo code partsFUNknown at checkout. Manscaped, always use the right tools for the job.
So the week after that admittedly quite compelling murder cliffhanger, that's when things started to get very, very bad things. There are 3 very bad things. Bad thing number 1. Literally nothing about this timeline makes any sense. It's also not the kind of thing that Kane does. It's not the kind of thing that makes Kane, or made Kane, cool. His brother has lightning powers. Kane can make flames magically appear with his arms. He was raised as a bastard son of, I want to say, an evil funeral director? Although, because Paul Bearer was a funeral director, right? That's what he is. He's not a Paul Bearer, he's a funeral director. He's got the suit on. So, an Undertaker and Kane lived in a funeral home, which burnt down, and the fire killed Kane and Undertaker's parents. So surely they were the funeral directors. Was Paul Bearer a rival funeral director who f***ed Undertaker's mum at a funeral director's work retreat and got her pregnant with Kane? Because Paul Bearer is Kane's dad. Point is, Undertaker's an actual murderer. Bad thing number 2, this makes Kane into a human being, which is the worst version of Kane. Actually, the worst version of Kane is currently on Twitter, but keeping it strictly to wrestling, Kane is best when he's a magic monster, not a sad man who's gone through a tragic car accident, the kind that happen all the time, and it's just really sad, and using it for heat feels gross, especially when also you consider the fact that it's happened to like loads of actual like wrestlers in real life. Adrian Adonis died in a car crash, so Junkyard Dog. Brian Pillman was caught in a vehicle accident that massively shortened his career and life. Randy Savage died in a car crash. Like, Kane and Taker's monstrousness makes sense as escapist fiction because it's so goth and heightened and unreal, so you can enjoy the kind of camp nature of it. Someone dying in a car crash is just sad and human and really sad. But then, and it got worse. It's time for bad thing number 3. Triple H came out and said that the police found beer cans in the vehicle on the driver's side. Again, that's Kane's first mask. The fuck is he drinking in that? That's not important, I suppose, except it is, but it isn't. Anyway, Triple H went on to say that the doctors, I'm not going to look at you for this bit, that the doctors found semen inside Katie Vick's body, leading to one of the worst lines in the history of wrestling promos. Kane, the question I have is, on that night, did you force Katie Vick to have sex with you while she was alive? Or did you just wait and do it to her while she was dead? Then Raw went to commercial, and when they came back, there was a women's tag match between Trish and Jacqueline versus Victoria and Molly Holly, with Stacy Keibler as the special guest referee. WWE, ladies and gentlemen. One segment accusing another wrestler of necrophilia, and then next segment, it's a lovely ladies tag match. Look at these lovely ladies. Then No Mercy happens, and the big pay-per-view match that this whole feud was building to, Kane versus Triple H, world title versus intercontinental title, winner take all. Triple H beats Kane with Ric Flair's help, and then after that match, the story continues. For real, the really bad bit that all of you remember about the Katie Vick storyline, that happened after the only pay-per-view match between the two men as a singles match in this feud. They got the pay-per-view match done. They knew they were going on to the Elimination Chamber because that was announced literally the next night. And they knew that Triple H and Kane weren't gonna have another one-on-one big pay-per-view blow-off. And so they've continued with the necrophilia. In fact, they would double down on the necrophilia, and I truly hate that that is a sentence that Ollie Davis has paid me to say out loud. Next week on Raw, I'm gonna have a bit more of this. Next week on Raw, the icing on the cake then, Triple H brought out a videotape. Videotape was playing Triple H dressed as Kane, cutting just a really porny promo on a mannequin dressed as a cheerleader, talking sexy talk, feeling her boobies, removing her bra, smelling her pants after removing them and saying, "I love the smell of formaldehyde in the morning," and then just f***ing the mannequin in the coffin, reaching behind her head, pulling out a handful of pink gloop and saying, "I really did it. I did it. I screwed your brains out," and then throwing the gloop at the camera after the pay-per-view match. Fun fact, that segment was shot in an actual funeral home. Oh God. It was shot in an actual funeral home, that's according to Bruce Pritchard, with an actual wake of an actual real-life human man happening in the room next door. Fun fact number 2 about this shoot, Triple H really wanted it to be more goofy and less like an actual porn film with it, but Vince really wanted it to be like a straight-faced attempt at necro porn. So Vince agreed to a compromise. They would shoot it 2 ways. They shoot it Vince's way first, and then they shoot it Triple H's way, the big, goofy, silly, oh, well, this is obviously not real. They shot it Vince's way first, and then he shut production down and didn't let them shoot it the other way. And apparently just like a whole bunch of the production crew quit and they never saw them again. So, you know, for all the times that you hated Triple H during the Reign of Terror in the Ruthless Aggression era, and, you know, he did some hateful things, just take some comfort in the fact that he was also forced to a dead mannequin corpse in a way that he didn't want. He was tricked into doing it. Then the next week, Triple H talked to a mannequin in the ring, talked about Kane's wiener. A hurricane showed up and showed footage of Triple H having a surgical enema. You know, bunch of comedy props being removed from his cerebral asshole. Might as well, why not bring out an old lady? Say that she's Katie Vick's mum, she can cry a bit. Triple H can, I don't know, lick her feet while she takes the dump into a crisp packet and then throws it at a car, because that's gross, which means it's funny. At this point, I would like to address the rumors that Vince McMahon is a genius and assure you that they are baseless allegations. So, Kane and Triple H ended their feud with a casket match on Raw, of course, and that's when Shawn Michaels returned, popping out the casket and helping Kane win. End of feud, onto the chamber match where Kane got eliminated third. So yeah, according to Bruce Pritchard, the story was apparently going to be sick boy Scott Vick coming to WWE to avenge his sister Katie Vick. According to Bruce Pritchard, Scott just had some really, really horrible dark matches on TV and on the road, and we already teased the name Katie Vick, so it's like, okay, let's change this and move it over to Kane. It can be his girlfriend. Bruce Pritchard went on to say, and I think it's important to use his real words here, it was during a time Vince was big into, we need more soap opera, we need more stories behind the characters, so we started creating stories. And it came to the story of, what if Kane accidentally didn't murder her, but was driving, and oh my God, and then the drinking, and it just grew. It's another glowing example of don't suggest or say things in jest that you don't want to have show up on the show. Like with everything, Vince was the ultimate decision maker, the one that went, I love this, so this is where we're going to go. That being said, here is another picture of Vince McMahon with the word genius on it. Here's the thing, now there's a lot of outrage around the Katie Vick storyline, but it's never been something I find pearl-clutchingly offensive. Like, WWE's done some offensive but this is just rubbish. It's just lowest common denominator, gross, unfunny that made everyone in the story look worse than they did before. It's the kind of stuff that made you feel embarrassed to be a wrestling fan. The kind of stuff that if someone came into the room while you were watching your favorite thing, it would make you feel like a dumbass for liking something that otherwise brings you joy. And that sucks. And this storyline sucks the most. And this job sucks the most. And everything sucks. And none of us will find peace, not even in death, because you can never, ever be sure that Triple H won't come to your wake. With that being said, let me have a go. Where'd you even start? Where'd you even f this? So maybe the place to start is with this. What do I have to keep? Like, just booking a completely different feud between Kane and Triple H would probably be better, but it's not rebooking Katie Vick, and that's the reason you're watching this. So here are the 3 factors that I think I have to use for this booking. Katie Vick has to be a featured character in the storyline. A defining reason for being in the feud is that she is dead, and Triple H has to use this against Kane. So, first things first, scrap the car accident, because the image of Kane in his spooky mask driving along in a little Suzuki X90 after having rocked out at an American Pie solo cup party is a ridiculously harmful thing to do to his character as an unstoppable rage monster of mystery. And then the fact that it's just a car accident is just sad and gross and sad, so no thank you. If Katie Vick has to be dead, and I guess that she must, let's at least have her death fit into this grand goth opera landscape that is Kane's twisted and stupid backstory. And I don't want to, but Ollie says he won't buy me board games anymore if I don't. And guys, I really like board games. Do you know why I like board games so much? It's because they're a hobby that isn't about f***ing dead women. Now, well, to be fair, let me just check boardgamegeek.com. Yeah, almost none of them are about dead women. So we start the night at SummerSlam 2002, bloody excellent pay-per-view, by the way. Everything stays the same on that card except for one promo at the end, which is Brock Lesnar celebrating winning the WWE Undisputed Championship, and Stephanie McMahon revealing to Eric Bischoff, to cap off their Raw vs. SmackDown story that's been running the entire night, that actually she's just signed Brock to be the exclusive champion on SmackDown. There is no world champion on Raw. What are you gonna do, Eric? You've got just 24 hours to figure it out. So the Raw that takes place after that bloody excellent pay-per-view, by the way, emanated from Madison Square Garden. The night after SummerSlam was from MSG, the arena where WWE likes to make momentous happen, and I have some ideas for some momentous Eric Bischoff comes out, and this is the night that he reveals the WWE version of the big gold belt, the World Heavyweight Championship. If Stephanie wants to combine titles and have an undisputed champion on her show, then Raw will do the same, but better. The top singles champion on Raw, the Intercontinental Champion Kane, versus a challenger of Eric Bischoff's choosing. A man bred to be a world champion. A man with an unmatched pedigree, you might say, Triple H. Later in the show, Eric Bischoff also informs Kane that he doesn't play favorites with his talent, can't be seen to give Kane all the title opportunities. If Kane wants to be IC champion and tag team champion, also world heavyweight champion, I suppose, he'll have to earn it. Puts Kane and Hurricane in a title match right before the main event with the tag straps on the line. In that match, which is against Christian and Chris Jericho, Triple H interferes, costs Kane and Hurricane the titles. The main event of Raw follows immediately afterward, live from Madison Square Garden, Triple H versus Kane, unifying the World Heavyweight Championship and Intercontinental Championship. For the majority of the match, Triple H is in control. When the referee goes down, Triple H goes for a sledgehammer, hits Kane with it, but Kane sits up, snatches the game into a chokeslam, bang, ref wakes up, he pins the game. 1, 2, 3, Kane wins in a shock, a big MSG moment, huge babyface pop for a new champion. Nice mirroring as well, because the next time WWE will be in MSG, Triple H will beat Kane to get him to unmask. It's like poetry, it rhymes. I mean, next time they're in Madison Square Garden for a Raw. I mean, because you know what. See, Kane is a monster, says Triple H. He can take beat down after beat down after beat down. He is a big red machine. He has almost supernatural reserves of strength, but Triple H tells the coach in a backstage interview that if he can't break Kane's body, he'll have to find something else to break, because he's a cerebral assassin. He'll break Kane's mind, and then his spirit, and then the game will be the true World Heavyweight Champion. So Triple H goes into Kane's medical files. He seeks out his psych records, and he finds something very interesting. Later that night on Raw, Kane is wrestling a no-holds-barred handicap match against Christian and Chris Jericho. Kane has both Chris's in a chokehold, ready for a double chokeslam, when Triple H walks out with a folder in his hand. He opens it and speaks into the mic, Katie Vick. And suddenly Kane just stops. He stands there. Jericho and Christian escape and just stand there looking at Kane, who just stands there motionless. Christian and Chris Jericho, they pick up chairs and hit Kane with a concerto. He falls flat. They cover him and win. After the match, Triple H comes down to the ring, picks up one of the chairs, sits in it and says, I know Kane. I know everything. And next week, the world's going to know it too, that you, Kane, are a murderer. Katie Vick is now in the feud and she's dead. We happy? We're happy? Well done, we're all happy. Well done, everyone. Good Lord above. So Triple H versus Kane for the World Heavyweight title is set at Unforgiven. Next week on Raw, Hurricane is asked about these allegations. He says he doesn't know anything about it. The only thing he knows is that ever since Triple H said those words last week, Kane hasn't spoken a single word. He's been dead silent, and it scares the Hurricane. There's something in Kane's eyes that he hasn't seen before. Later in the show, Triple H comes down to the ring. He's flanked by security guards, just bloody loads of them. He says that ever since I found out just how much of a monster Kane is, I've taken extra measures to protect myself. I went into Kane's psych records. I found out that after Kane's family perished in that fire all those years ago, Kane's freakish, burned body was taken to an asylum where his twisted mind would be safe from the good, kind, compassionate people of this world. People like me, just doing my humanitarian duty to make sure that you people don't have a murderer as your world champion. Because that's what's written in here. On these pages, every day, Kane would write 2 words over the walls of his padded cell. 2 words over and over and over. The words, Katie Vick. And when the doctors asked him why, all he said was, I killed her. I don't know how Kane did it. I don't know why, but I will not stop until you all know the truth that Kane is nothing than a no-good boom. Kane's pyro explodes and the big red machine runs down to the ring, does what Kane always did best, cleans house. Security guards being thrown here, there, and everywhere, getting booted in the face, eating choke slams, and once it's just Kane and Triple H, the game just says into the microphone, Katie Vick. Kane stops. Triple H kicks him in the stomach, delivers the pedigree, picks up and holds aloft the World Championship. So, the big question everyone on Raw is asking, who was Katie Vick? And no one knows. Hurricane is doing his investigative journalism, because he has that journalist character. But he can't find anything out. Kane is no longer speaking. Kane being silent, by the way, does a lot for this storyline because it dials the clock back to the time where he was first debuted as a mute. It gives him a lot more power, but also a lot more menace. And also reminds everyone of Kane's backstory, setting fires, being burned in fires, being a hateful demon fixated on revenge. It's possible that he did this. Also, not knowing the actual details makes the whole murder thing it's still a bit gross. It's still gross, fellas, but also mysterious and unreal. No one knows exactly what happened, who she was. It makes it into a narrative puzzle, makes it just unreal enough to be palatable. It gives her the kind of mythical status that befits being part of Kane's specific backstory. Now, on the Go Home Raw before Unforgiven, Kane and Triple H are again brawling in the ring. When Triple H is about to say the words into the microphone, Kane stops him, delivers a choke slam, and then grabs a chair from ringside. He wraps it around Triple H's throat and jumps on it from the top rope. Triple H's larynx is crushed. Until it heals, he can no longer talk. At Unforgiven, which now is a very aptly named pay-per-view, Triple H and Kane wrestle a brutal match. Kane has Triple H up, ready for the tombstone, when out comes Ric Flair, who shouts into the microphone, Katie Vick! That's my best Ric Flair impression, sorry. Kane stops in his tracks. Triple H falls from his arms. Triple H delivers the pedigree, pins Kane, 1, 2, 3. Triple H is the new World Heavyweight Champion. Also Unforgiven, by the way, Brock Lesnar doesn't wrestle The Undertaker. Taker's still a heel by this point, wrestling a babyface like Edge in the mid-cards and not getting involved in the whole un-American stuff. Instead, Brock Lesnar wrestles Hulk Hogan, not on a random SmackDown, but on a major stage at Unforgiven, properly establishing Brock as the next unstoppable big thing, submitting Hulk Hogan on pay-per-view. Ric Flair on Raw revealed why he helped Triple H. This belt, this big gold belt, means more to me than any of you people could ever know, and I could not forgive myself if I spent one more day around the waist of a monster. Triple H, He's a real world's champion. He reminds Rick of a young Ric Flair, the class, the intelligence, the breeding that the title deserves. Kane, of course, comes in to clean house, grabs Triple H. Ric Flair hits Kane with a low blow. Triple H knocks Kane down, but the monster sits up. Katie Vick, one more time, Ric Flair says into a live mic, and Kane is stopped in his tracks. Triple H grabs a sledgehammer and it's about to smash Kane in the head with it, but that's when Undertaker's music hits and he runs down to save his brother. Undertaker turns face. Here, this is where he turns face, clears the ring of the villains and kneels in front of his brother, sat there in his trance. Slowly, Kane looks at Undertaker. Undertaker extends his hand. Kane takes it, and Taker pulls him to his feet. The Brothers of Destruction are on the same page. Now, at the same time, over on SmackDown, Taker enters into a feud with Brock Lesnar, and both brands start to become a little mingled together for one big show. Taker is on Raw, trying to help his brother overcome his personal demons, while Kane makes appearances on SmackDown, evening the odds against Brock Lesnar's douchebaggery. Vignettes air of Kane and Taker standing in a graveyard, Taker trying to remind Kane of who he is, about the monster you are, Kane. That could be your strength. The same things that crippled you as a child, the same things that made you weak and angry and afraid, those are the things that can make you strong now. Because, Taker says, because Kane, I know you're innocent. Kane just says nothing. This all leads to No Mercy, a blockbuster main event, the Brothers of Destruction versus Triple H and Brock Lesnar. If the brothers win, Kane becomes World Heavyweight Champion, Undertaker becomes WWE Champion. During the match, the Brothers of Destruction hit the two world champs with dual choke slams, but before they can make the cover, out comes a returning Paul Bearer. Paul Bearer reveals, "He's been lying to you, Kane! He's been lying to you!" Kane turns around and is scooped up by Undertaker, who drops Kane with a tombstone. Undertaker walks away, racked with guilt and pain. Brock covers Kane. 1, 2, 3. The champs retain their titles. Now on Raw, Paul Bearer reveals that Katie Vick has never been real. Undertaker made the whole thing up to control his brother when they were kids. Undertaker would tell Kane over and over again when he visited him in the asylum, "You killed her, Kane. You killed her." To try and convince Kane that Kane had been the one to set the fire that killed their parents all those years ago. When Taker was at peak villain, he manipulated Kane. Like, Kane and Taker's parents were evil, but Undertaker made up a little girl called Katie Vick, who was in that fire, that she died, that Kane killed her, to remind Kane that he was the monster, to keep him quiet, subdued, and guilty, locked inside his own mind. Even now, those words hold a terrible power over Kane, and there's nothing Undertaker can do to atone for that kind of sin. Which leads to Undertaker versus Kane at Survivor Series 2002, with Ric Flair replacing Kane inside the Elimination Chamber match to provide backup and a numbers advantage to Triple H, stack the deck against everyone else, which makes it even better when Shawn Michaels wins, hooray. In real life, Taker was written off TV just before Survivor Series and attacked by Big Show, but in this reality, he waits a few more weeks and is written off here. Kane and Taker are set to batter each other all over Madison Square Garden, which is where Survivor Series 2002 emanated from, which is where Kane won the World Heavyweight Championship all those months ago when this storyline began. Before the match, Undertaker talks backstage about how he can't take back all the terrible things he's done in his life. He's done many terrible things. He's a murderer after all. He's sorry for what he's done. But if Kane can't shake the demons of his past, if Kane refuses to be strong, if he lets himself be weakened like an ailing pet, then the dead man will have no choice but to put him down for good. Undertaker and Kane go to war like they have done several times before, but this time Undertaker has a secret weapon. Towards the end of the match, Undertaker, who's been battered to hell, takes up a microphone and stands face to face with Kane. He shouts, "Katie Vick!" And Kane freezes, standing still like a zombie. Taker punches Kane in the face, and he just stands there. Punches Kane in the face one more time. He goes for a third punch, and Kane catches the Undertaker's hand, and Kane slowly shakes his head, scoops Undertaker up, and hits him with the tombstone. Then another, and then another. After 3 tombstones, he pins Undertaker 1, 2, 3. Finally, Kane has banished the specter hanging over him, the specter of Katie Vick. And that, oh, Jesus Christ, that is how I would book the Katie Vick storyline. Sorry that she wasn't real in the end, I guess. Sorry that she wasn't a real dead girl. Jesus Christ, I've got nothing left. If you would like to see other booking videos, please check them out. I've done one on Kofi Mania. That was a really good one. Jinder Mahal, WWE champion. That was another one that forced me to get through a couple of drams of this. Anyway, check out the other fantasy booking videos we got on the channel. Let me know in the comments what other things you would like me to fantasy book. We'll see you next month. And never forget, jam that jam. Oh my God. Oh my God.